The deputations by appointment. I have 3, and I have the Sumner, a group from Sumner that represent the Sumner Library, Sumner Residents Association, Sumner Theatre Group, and Sumner Museum. And then I have Linda and Derek from the Mount Pleasant Community Centre, and then I have Val on from the Pendleton Waimaori Community Board. For the team from Sumner, there are quite a lot of you. Are you all combining to make one deputation? Is that how it's working?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
and
cool.
Our query was, do we have just the 10 minutes?
Or could I be really kind and give you, 15? Yeah, okay. Okay, come on forward. And I think you guys probably know how it all works, but does 15 cut it for you?
Yes.
I'll be reasonably fluid at the end. Phil?
Can I assume we just do a whole agenda that,
Yeah,
that includes our questions too, or could you clarify that?
Yes. So just so you guys and the people who follow on from you realise that the amount of time actually includes the questions. So if you want to allow time for questions, don't take it all up with speaking. Okay, but because you've got a number of groups here, I'm giving you 15 minutes. Okay?
Wonderful.
Right, we're in your hands. Feel free to use the time how you wish.
Okay, so Honourable Deputy Mayor and councillors, good morning. My name is Peter Hansen, and my colleagues here are Tanya Jeffson and Humphrey Archer and Marnie Kent. And jointly we're representing the Sumner Community Centre, the Sumner Library Rebuild Support Group, the Sumner Museum, and other local groups and individuals. And we're here in support of the Council's rebuild project for Sumner's community facilities and its full funding of $10.1 million. And as we're saying, we're listed as 3 separate deputations, but actually we're one united deputation. We're all reading from the same page. And we wish to thank the Mayor Leanne Dalzell for highlighting community centres, libraries and pools as council priority. And we thank the Mayor too for acknowledging Sumner by name as a community facilities rebuild. And this was in her interview with Catherine Ryan on 9 to noon on the 5th of August. Community centres, libraries, pools and museums, they exist for the benefit of their communities. They're stimulating places that bring people together and they contribute to their well-being. They're providing places of recreation, of lifelong learning and links to our cultural heritage. And indeed, in Sumner, we enjoyed those facilities. They were very much at the heart of our community activities. And never in our lives did we imagine the loss of these facilities so dear to us. But the 22nd of February 2011 earthquake changed all that. The community centre, the library and the museum were damaged beyond repair. Fortunately, our community pool survived. Sumner Library. The loss of our local library has been huge. Residents said that they felt that the heart of our community had been torn from it. Sumner's had a library since 1876, that's 138 years. In the 1990s, the Sumner Volunteer Library was absorbed into the Christchurch City Libraries system, and the staff of whom since have provided a much valued and appreciated professional service to Sumner and Redcliffs. And the library, it buzzed constantly with activity. It was used by preschoolers, youth, families, seniors, visitors, tourists and backpackers. It was a social centre. It was a bumping place, right bang in the centre of the village where it complemented other shops and businesses. And it helped to create that dynamic of mutual benefit to each other. The library figures for 2009 and 10 show that an average of over 2,100 people used the library weekly. And transactions for that year were over 112,000. So, what do we have now? We have a mobile library. It's a minivan that contains 1,000 titles, and it allows up to 3 people inside at a time.
4 toddlers.
Or 4 toddlers, as you can see on the picture. It's a temporary solution, nearly 3.5 years now. Yes, we're really thankful to have this service, but in reality, in the long term, it's not enough for the needs and expectations of Sumner and Redcliffs. Queuing in the rain, the wind, the cold, the heat, and the dust is no fun for anyone. Children, elderly, disabled. Access for the disabled and elderly isn't easy either, and we understand that library usage by this group has dropped. And with the limited range of titles, it's hard on users' pockets too, and they must pay a $2 fee to reserve each book. There's no direct bus to Linwood Library at Eastgate, and if people do drive there or elsewhere, they also do their shopping and their coffees, thus taking away much needed business away from Sumner. We desperately need a new library and the heart put back into the village. I'm aware that the developers of the Ray White building in the village have proposed to council that the library lease their ground floor. This could be a short-term option. I understand that a library fit-out would be very expensive, and rent based on market rates would be well over $200,000 annually. So any money used for a temporary fit-out and rent would be offset against the rebuild project funding. And on that basis, we would oppose anything that would reduce the full funding earmarked for the Sumner facilities rebuild. We love the concept plans for the new library, which would double the floor space. We've been over and had a look at the new Aranui Library, and we've seen how such a wonderful space could also work for Sumner. The Sumner Museum. Just a moment, I'm going to have some water. The Sumner Museum. This opened in 1979 in the former Sumner Borough Council offices, the community centre that we've lost. It's run by volunteers from the Sumner Redcliffs Historical Society. I don't know if you remember, but on 7th of March 2011, it was the very highly publicised dramatic rescue of the museum's contents by the Japanese Urban Search and Rescue Team and the Sumner Volunteer Fire Brigade. Items were then photographed, they were stored in containers and garages. The museum's fortunate to have a temporary lease of the former Sumner Police Station. It's small, it's cramped, but at least we can have access to some of our archives and to our research. But did you know that this is the second time that some of the records have been saved from destruction? The Christchurch City Council disposed of the Sumner Borough Council's records by dumping them in McCormick's Bay, which was then a rubbish dump. A concerned local resident with a sense of history, the late Stan Rule of Ngaitahu, and his wife Topsy, currently curator, she's here today, they salvaged what they could out of the mud and the salt water, and these form the basis of the museum's collection. And the irony is this, that these records are used on occasion now to answer council's queries re a wide range of important local issues, especially since the earthquake, with underground services and reservoirs and all that sort of thing. Other records include diaries, local newspapers, land records dating back to 1851, and these have been really useful post-earthquake as well for local residents and for council. There have been maps, photos, newspaper clippings, records and minute books of local organisations, and also a Maori and a Pakeha Whakapapa genealogy collection. And they're all telling something of the Sumner District's story. The museum's archives, they're a unique local record which can't be replicated elsewhere, and it's vital that the records stay in Sumner. We appreciate the space set aside for us in the concept plans for storage and research. And we also appreciate the ability to have permanent and temporary display exhibition space telling Sumner's fascinating human history that stretches back almost 1,000 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. You've got more?
There's a little bit more.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Moving on to the next slide, not only was the community centre and museum and library lost, but there were 12 other community meeting spaces in Sumner lost, including the RSA, the Marine Tavern, Surf Club, restaurants, the Club Bazaar, Ruptured Duck, and the Thirsty Mariner, as well as the Scout Den, the Van Ash School Hall, and the All Saints Church and Hall, and also the Star of the Sea Hall, which is now being used as a church, so it's been lost as a meeting place. The loss of so many community meeting places has put real pressure on the temporary community centre in the Old School Hall. The theatre group has worked hard to modify the Old School Hall for cabarets, but it is a temporary venue and has many limitations. The photograph is of the recent cabaret production that finished just 2 weeks ago, and again, very successful at fundraising. And that is a key point, that the theatre group has raised $40,000 each year for local communities, as well as funding the community centre operation to keep the rental charges low for other users. So the rebuild of the community centre in the near future is essential to give all the above groups a proper home. The former community centre was well used and a vibrant place. We need to replace these very successful facilities.
Thank you. I'll be very quick because I'm not sure what the time is. I can't see the clock. How much time have we got? Okay. Humphrey and Peter touched on a very important subject, and that being that we are only using temporary facilities. So with regards to the police station, where the hub is, and the museum, we have been advised that if there's another disaster, we have to be out of there in an instant. And where do we go? The same with the old school hall. If, for example, the school needed that hall back, where do we go for community facility? And if that ever happened between now and, say, a year or 2 years' time, is this council ready to, at that point, to rebuild a new facility that we need so desperately? So now's the time to make that decision, to put the money into the rebuild of our library, museum and community hall. Because now, if we don't make that choice right now, we may lose that opportunity later on. And we don't want to see funding spent on a temporary fixture when what will happen is the funds out of the temporary will come out of the budget of a rebuild of the whole facility. So we really want the money to be spent on this facility. So we've been through a lot. We really need your support today. Please consider the rebuild of what we need back. It's not just for us here today, it's for the young people, it's for the older people. A lot of older generation use libraries, they use community facilities, you can put on many courses, cooking classes, all that sort of stuff. We need this facility built back. The Village Green may have a temporary site to go to, so it's a win-win for our community. We're working collaboratively and we really need your support on this. Thank you. That's it.
That's it.
Open for questions.
Much. That was a really great deputation, and I must say that I'm very impressed with the amount of fundraising that the theatre group was raising every year for. Is it for Sumner groups or all around the city?
Redcliffe's, I think.
You know, all over the city, Zonta come every year, and that's citywide. We've had groups in the past, New Brighton Lions, and generally from Ferrymead to Sumner, but there are wider groups as well.
And so therefore, is that ability to raise that money being hampered by your smaller facility now? Or?
Yes, very much so, and the audience size is limited, and also the number of shows we can perform is restricted as well.
Right, and the other question I had too was I'm surprised there's no direct bus to Linwood, you said. So
It's just been 2 buses.
Oh, it's part of the review, is it?
Yeah.
So
So bus
now-
number 21 will stop very soon from Mount Pleasant, and I've got it here. It takes 29 minutes on a bus, and you've got to catch 2 buses. Or if you catch a bus into the city, that's a 30-minute bus ride, then a 7-minute walk to the city library.
Right, okay.
I'm here as a mum of a toddler, and I've only just moved to Sumner from Auckland, so I'm sort of looking with ahead, as opposed to I understand everything that's happened, but logistically for somebody like me with, or you know, indeed certainly somebody elderly in the community to get to Eastgate, which is where I'm currently taking her to the library. You know, it's a long and bumpy road, as we said, but even public transport to get there is prohibitive. And as you can see from the slides, the van is great, but when she visited that, she was just like, kind of, you know, where's the library, Mum?
Right,
You know?
it's not the same, is it?
Yeah, yeah. And I want her to be able to join brownies and do gymnastics and, you know, have a space that's actually functional for that, for her to grow up in Sumner.
Yeah, so
And all my neighbours and friends were little kids as well. So.
great, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I just wondered, you've included the RSA among the community groups, and I just wondered, is the potential for the land, say, that they have to be part of the you know, a larger community centre in the future?
No, their site has been red zoned because of rockfall risk.
Are you talking about the money they got out of their
I'm
land?
probably talking about them, say, as an organisation too.
Yeah, they have no land because it's been totally red zoned, so they've been given a payout, so they have some money. But
So at the moment they're like separate though from the other groups.
There has been talk between council staff and the RSA to look at possibly building a combined building, but I don't know where that conversation's got to. So Gary Watson's here, he might be able to give you a bit of an update on where that conversation led to. Yep.
Just a quick question. You talked about actually the businesses suffering because you have to go out of the area, and I wonder if there's any indicative figures, and I do know myself personally, but I don't know if the others do, that the businesses that actually have closed because they aren't able to be supported enough in the last year, and I know there's, from memories, about 3, but can you guys just give me a quick update?
I can't give you any figures, but we see the rebuilt community facility as being an anchor project right in the village. That would be the glue that would really help to help the village to function and to prosper, because people used to go to the library, the books for the community centre, for the exercise classes, pop over the road to the pharmacy and pop into one of the cafes or into the bookshop, which is now defunct. And we're really
which is now defunct.
Yep, we're really of the mind that having this council facility would really help to generate some new life in the village, because it's pretty decimated. But I can't give you any actual figures. Yeah.
It's very quick. You've asked for 10.1 million to be put on budget. If we put up to 10.1 million, would you be happy to look at applying and trying to create external funding to go towards this project?
Absolutely, we'll even see what we can get our community to fundraise as well.
Yeah. And in fact, we did lodge an application with the lotteries 3 years ago, but we were told that until the City Council makes a decision on the future, that they just wouldn't consider it.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for all that you're doing in the community as well. It's one of the nicest things about being on the council is listening to what people come and tell us about their own communities and the passion with which they tell it. So thank you very much indeed. Obviously the issue that you're asking us to consider is in public excluded. So I just want you to be aware that there will be a long council meeting today and you may not want to sit through it all. But you are, of course, most welcome if you want to.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.